Happy Thursday. Welcome in to another edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. It is our Thursday live show where we'll catch up to speed on the latest happenings across the National Football League. We'll go over some news and rumors coming up in just a bit. Also, we'll do a Q&A mailbag. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag portion of the show. And then before we wrap things up today, I will give you my predictions for who will be in the NFL postseason here in just a few weeks from right now. As you guys file in, we get this show started. Shout out your favorite team. We'll shout you out as we get going here on today's show. Let us know who that team is that you rep and rep proudly. And I see Juan Hernandez already showing in, representing the Raiders. I got Aaron, the Niners fan, in the house. Good to see you, Aaron. Thanks for being here. You guys know me. I'm always repping the Seahawks, the 12s with Seahawks today. And we're actually going to get the chance to talk about the Seahawks as we got a very interesting story in regards to Jamal Adams that we'll talk about here coming up in just a bit. Ed, the Raiders fan. I got Christopher says New England Patriots all the way. Clayton says, what's up, Tyler? I just smashed that like button. Go Cowboys. Clayton, thanks for hitting that like button for us, and your Cowboys are looking pretty dang good as of late, my guy. John, Raiders fan from Iowa. Good to see you, John. Thanks for being here, man, and supporting the show today. Thursday night football action tonight. The Chargers taking on the Raiders. And I got to tell you, this is a battle of very mediocre quarterbacks that we're about to see tonight. Easton Stick getting the start for the Chargers as Justin Herbert is done for the year. Meanwhile, the opposite side for the Raiders, it will be the rookie Aiden O'Connell getting the start for Las Vegas in this AFC West showdown. Who you got, Chargers or Raiders? Let us know in the chat. C for Chargers, R for Raiders. My partner in crime, the one and only Tyler Smith, Smitty, is in the house with me today, holding things down on the ones and twos. Smitty, how we doing? Thursday night football, not the best matchup by any stretch of the imagination.
We're going to find out who the real football fans are tonight watching that game on Amazon Prime Video. Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. What happened to the game I love?
Right?
Can't believe how many quarterback injuries we've had this season so far. And it's only getting worse as the season goes down the stretch. Herbert's down, Stroud's down, Lawrence banged up. You name it. Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys going down. It's nuts. It's kind of survival of the fittest at the quarterback position. Jalen Hurts banged up as well.
You know, Smitty, we do have a lot of Raider fans in the chat, so it sounds like, based on the way the chat's reacting, they're still excited for tonight, though.
I like it. The Raiders are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, so they are still fighting for their lives there in Vegas. I'm excited to see their playmakers. Josh Jacobs out tonight, so that's very interesting for their run game. Amir Abdullah will take the duties there at the tailback. But I'm looking to see Davante Adams kind of come back and have a nice game here. It feels like he's had such a quiet season. He's probably close to 1,000 yards right now, but he's had one of his weaker seasons so far here as a pro, and that's probably a result of the revolving door of quarterbacks there in Vegas.
So I'm looking it up in real time as we speak. Davante Adams' numbers this year, 76 catches, 867 yards. I think the big thing, though, is
it doesn't seem that bad on the onset.
Only 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns? Yeah, well, the Raiders aren't getting to the red zone too much.
You compare that to what he's done in the past. Last year, had 14 touchdowns. The year prior to that, 11. The year prior to that, 18. So,
I mean, yeah.
Although he's still got a decent number of catches and yards, total's not bad. He'll get over 1,000. It's that touchdown number that we've seen a big drop-off for Davante Adams this season.
And that's not the fault of his own. I mean, that's the Raiders just being a unproductive offense who can't get down in the red zone where Davante Adams is most effective as a
touchdown scorer. If they do trade him and he goes somewhere else, somebody is still going to get a top-notch receiver.
Absolutely. He doesn't look like he's slowed down a bit.
No. The Raiders have not ruined Davante Adams just yet. Let's see. Clayton says both will lose tonight. I got Karen Mom says anything can happen. That's true. Our NFL 2022 says Raider Nation. What's going on? Good to see you. Brandon says Raiders. I found the one Charger fan in the chat. Spencer says he's got the Chargers tonight. So we'll see how that all goes down. Should be a fun one tonight. Chargers and Raiders Thursday night football. And we'll have coverage on our Raiders channel tonight. Mitchell Rins, Jeremy Chugs, and the gang They'll have a great time, so go check them out there on Raiders Report tonight. Before we go any further along in today's show, let's tell you about our sponsor. That is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how Prize Picks works. You choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're picking between fantasy points, passing yards, completions. Maybe you want to mix and match sports. Go with a little college football, NFL. Maybe you want to mix some NBA or NHL in there. Here's what I'm rolling with. I'm mixing a little NFL and college football for you. I got Lamar Jackson to have more than 219.5 passing yards. I got Michael Penix to have more than 312.5 passing yards in the college football playoff semifinal when the Washington Huskies take on Texas. Let's say I put $20 down on both those and it hits, then I'm going to be making $60 on Prize Picks. You can play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Also, going in the chat right now. Prize Picks, proud partner of NFL Daily in Chat Sports. Check them out. You'll be glad you did. So we only have a few weeks left in the NFL season, and the MVP race is very tight. I would say the front runner right now is Dak, but not by a lot. Who is the NFL MVP right now? What do you guys think? Smitty, we were talking about this before the show, you and I were. I think Dak is the favorite at the moment. But if Tyreek Hill does reach over 2,000 yards, which he's on pace to do, I don't see how you don't give him the NFL MVP award.
That's who I believe deserves the award. Tyreek Hill is having a wide receiver season like we haven't seen in a while. Ever, yeah. The yardage-wise, I mean, the season, I think people forget just 2 seasons ago how dominant Cooper Kupp was.
Won the Triple Crown.
The Triple Crown. I mean, like, wide receivers are just becoming more and more productive as the years go on, and another dazzling year from Tyreek. But this is a whole new level. 2,000 yards from receivers never been done before. The NFL loves record-breaking, whether it be some specific stat they find out about a snow game on Tuesday,
right,
or an actual career or season game statistic. They care about their records. I think they would want to give the MVP to Tyreek Hill if he sets that 2,000-yard mark.
Yeah, and it would be pretty ironic for it to happen when his former team, the Kansas City Chiefs receiving corps, has been so pitiful if he has a record-breaking season. Yeah. All right. If you want to start today's show, I need you to like the video. I got 18 likes so far. I need to at least get to 25. I think that's being very generous. I just need to get to 25, and then we can get this show started. That's all I need to get to get this thing going. So if you want your team to win this weekend, if you're having a great time spending your Thursday with us here on NFL Daily, then go ahead and hit that like button. This is the start of the week in the NFL, folks, as Thursday Night Football tonight. We kind of set the scene. We're the scene setter of sorts for the rest of the weekend of the NFL action. You begin your NFL week here with us on NFL Daily. Go ahead and hit that like button, and we'll get started with the show coming up in just a bit. Let's tell you what is ahead on this edition of NFL Daily while I wait on just 6 more likes. That's all I need. Then we can get started here. We have news and rumors. A lot to get to. Jamal Adams. We're talking to Ndamukong Suh. Also, C.J. Stroud. Yeah. To quote our boy Jeremy Chuggs. We'll get to some news you need to know on those guys coming up in just a bit. Also got a Q&A mailbag later on. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on the mailbag segment we'll be bringing you later. And then the NFL playoffs coming up in just a few weeks with the final weeks ahead of the regular season. I have my predictions for you as far as how I see the next few weeks playing out. Who's in, who's out, who makes the postseason. We'll tell you here in just a bit. 4 more likes, and then we get the show started. Smitty, before I jump in on this this first segment here, we're going to be talking about your Seahawks, Jamal Adams. Yep. Our poll question right now, should the Seahawks cut Jamal Adams? 52% of you saying yes. Mm-hmm. And I think people are going to find this interesting of what we have on Jamal Adams from a voice I was not expecting to hear from on this topic.
Yeah, you guys have to wait and see because the Seahawks legend, I would say, is not too fond of the way that Jamal Adams has performed there in Seattle so far. So, he had his things to say about what they should do with him after this season, and we'll be showing you guys in just a bit here.
Yeah, 2 more likes away from starting. Smitty, your thoughts kind of before I dive into this
Sure.
on Jamal Adams and his future. Should Seattle cut ties? It wouldn't be cheap to move on from him, but do you think they should pull the trigger?
I think it's just one of those things you got to cut your losses and just reset with that thing. I mean, like, he's not going to become a coverage safety for you, so don't put him in coverage. You have linebackers inside the box in Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner. You can't put him there. So, and then, what do? You paying $20 million to a free safety who blitzes off the edge? Like, come on, man. It's just not working out for Jamal Adams here in Seattle, and I think the quicker that they get rid of that contract, the better.
Yeah. 2 more likes, and then we'll start the show here, as that helps out the algorithm, gets more people to join us. Free way to contribute to this show by just simply hitting that like button. We certainly appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and get after it, as we will start with our news and rumors, mailbag to come, and then playoff predictions after that. So glad to have you with us. Thanks for spending your Thursday starting NFL Week 15 here on NFL Daily. We'll go ahead and get going right now with segment number 1 of 3 here on tap on this live edition of NFL Daily. Just about ready, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Whenever Smitty gives me the go-ahead, then we'll get rolling here. All right, here we go. You're watching NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. On today's show, a Seahawks legend, Mike Holmgren, has spoken out in regards to Jamal Adams, saying it's time for Seattle to cut ties with their star safety. We'll explain coming up. Also, Ndamukong Suh, could he be making a return to the National Football League just in time for the postseason? We'll tell you about the situation involving Ndamukong Suh and a team that could be a likely suitor for him in just a bit. Also, got an update on C.J. Stroud, his injury status, as the Houston Texans quarterback could be out for a bit. We'll explain in just a moment. Before we do, if you want your team to make the NFL postseason, need you to like today's video. Show some love to your team. Don't jinx it. Don't take any chances. Do your part to make sure your favorite team gets in the postseason. Like today's video, and we'll get started with this edition of NFL Daily. Let's begin in Seattle, where former Seahawks head coach Mike Holmgren is speaking out. He did a local interview in the Seattle area just within the last couple of days, and he is suggesting that the Seahawks release their safety Jamal Adams. And you may recall the Seahawks have spent a lot. They have been very patient when it comes to Jamal Adams over the last couple of seasons. Not only did they give up the farm to trade for him a few years ago from the New York Jets, but then you also factor in the fact that he has been injured a lot over the last few years. And yet they've waited it out. He hasn't produced on the football field when he's been healthy. And it would not be cheap to move on from him, but Holmgren says it's time. Listen to this from Holmgren. I've been in position where I've had to release good players that were hurting the team, and sometimes you just have to eat the money. Now, what type of money are we talking about here? A lot of moolah here, folks. The Seahawks, it would cost them $20 million in dead cap over the next 2 years to cut Jamal Adams here. That's a lot of change that the Seahawks would be paying for a guy not to play for you. Now, I know some of you are going to say right away, why not just trade him at that point? Well, it's, I think, the worst contract in football. Nobody is going to trade for Jamal Adams and make a move to bring him in when he's playing this poorly and also with as bad as a contract that is. And the fact is, Jamal Adams at this point in his career right now is a liability. There is more bad than good that comes with Jamal Adams, that it's simply not worth it for anybody out there to make a move to bring in Jamal Adams at this point. You look at the Seahawks depth chart, and they invested in Julian Love. They brought him in. He got off to a slow start to this year. Quandre Diggs is starting to lose a step of sorts. He hasn't been the same guy that he once was. And then Jamal Adams, you factor into the equation. Jamal Adams just has been awful this year, despite what they've invested in this young core with guys like Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen and company. Something is clearly off where the Seahawks could be looking at wholesale changes in this secondary come 2024. More from Holmgren as far as Pete Carroll and John Schneider's situation goes and what they have to do. He said, I trust them. They both have each other's back. It's not an easy decision. So the Seahawks staff getting the support of their former coach. As we mentioned, traded to Seattle in 2020. And as far as the amount of time he's missed, besides just the lack of production with Jamal Adams, this is somebody that's missed a total of 25 games over the last 3 seasons and has not been the same player that the Seahawks thought that they were getting from the New York Jets just a few years ago. And if you need to see some numbers, well, we got those for you too. His overall grade so far this year, a 55 basically from Pro Football Focus. His coverage grade's been terrible. His run defense grade's been terrible. About the only thing he's been doing well is in the pass rush, an 85.5 grade, a true one-dimensional player. And the statistics, they back up what the nerd numbers show you from Pro Football Focus as well. He just hasn't had the production that the Seahawks have been looking for. And if you watch the game against the Niners, you saw the 49ers really just expose Jamal Adams. They were trying to throw his direction. The sad part for the Seahawks and for Jamal Adams is that his legacy with this Seattle Seahawks team is going to go down in the same vein as Clay Bennett, the former owner of the Seattle Supersonics, now owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is how Jamal Adams is going to be remembered. This is the worst trade in the history of that franchise. You look at how this played out. The Seahawks could have had Garrett Wilson, okay? And instead, they got an overpaid safety that couldn't stay healthy. Kobe Bryant, who they even got out of it, he's had problems staying healthy too. It was just a disaster, and one of the biggest regrets that I think you're going to see from a team in a trade that was ever made right here of what the Seahawks did with Jamal Adams, set that franchise back. Should the Seahawks cut Jamal Adams? What do you guys think? Why for yes, in for no? Is it time to move on and just give up after all that money he's due and everything? What do you guys think? Weigh in that comment section. Tell us what you think. Ndamukong Suh, could he be making a return to the National Football League? According to a new report, Ndamukong Suh has reached out to several teams about a potential return to the NFL. And there's a few things of note that come to mind as far as this situation goes with Suh. Let's start back in October when, in an interview with Sky Sports, Suh said he had discussions with the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, that did not materialize into anything. He himself showed interest in a return to come back to the Detroit Lions, where he started his career, but there were concerns about the fit that Ndamukong Suh would bring to Detroit and the chemistry that he would have within that organization with what Dan Campbell has already established there. Then there was the Dallas Cowboys that were brought up as a possibility, but the Cowboys were not interested in an off-the-couch signing of Ndamukong Suh, a guy that has not played all season long. There's one team that still is a possibility, and that is the Cleveland Browns. After the injury they had to Maurice Hurst, they are in need of some help on that defensive line. So, with that said, Ndamukong Suh, Cleveland, that seems to be, as far as I'm concerned, about the only real possibility at this point. We'll explain in just a second. Listen to this from Suh, what he had to say in that Sky Sports interview a while back. Where's the right fit? Where's the right opportunity? Where can I go and add value? I don't just want to sit there and watch other guys be successful. Have options, that's the key, and make decisions from there. So it's twofold. Ndamukong Suh wants to play, but he has to find a team that wants him and also be a contending team, somebody that's going to be around in the postseason. The only option on paper right now looks like the Cleveland Browns. If I were to guess, Ndamukong Suh either goes to Cleveland or he doesn't go anywhere at all. It's one or the other at this point, and I lean towards probably not going to happen. I would think that if the Browns really wanted Ndamukong Suh, they probably would have had him by now. Suh, we mentioned, started his career with Detroit. Most recently was in Philly last year, joining that team about halfway through the season. Played in 8 regular season games. Numbers weren't gaudy by any means. 10 tackles, 1 sack for the former 3-time first-team All-Pro. You're not going to get the Ndamukong Suh that we saw early in his career. Question remains, what does he still have to offer a team potentially? What do you think about the Browns? You think they should go sign Ndamukong Suh? Weigh in. S for sign, P for pass. Chime in that comment section. Let me know what you think the Browns should make a move for Suh or not. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how Prize Picks works. You choose 2 or more players on any given category. You get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, passing yards, receiving yards. Maybe you want to mix and match different sports, whether it's the NFL, the NBA. I'm going with a little NFL college football mix and match this week. I got Lamar Jackson to have more than 219.5 passing yards in his Sunday Night Football matchup against the Jags. And then I got Michael Penix Jr. in the college football playoff semifinal, the Sugar Bowl against Texas, having a big night, going off for more than 312.5 passing yards. If both those hit, let's say I put $20 down, I'm making $60 on Prize Picks. You can play along with me as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of NFL Daily. One final note before we get out of here today, an update on C.J. Stroud. The Houston Texans rookie quarterback has been fantastic in 2023, but unfortunately, he suffered a concussion last week and has not cleared protocols. So now the expectation is that as the Texans are sitting here trying to make the postseason, that they will have to turn their attention to David Mills to get the start, for Davis Mills to get the start for this Houston Texans team, their former starter. Here's more from Aaron Wilson saying the following. Texans quarterback Davis Mills, who has been prepared to start all week against the Titans with regular starter C.J. Stroud recovering from a concussion. Although Stroud is recovering well, he is not cleared under NFL concussion protocol. Now, I look at the way Stroud has been for this Texans team. He's really just carried them on his back and looks like he's got the makings of being a franchise quarterback someday. The Texans, in their position, in a very competitive AFC right now, have to have C.J. Stroud if this team is going to make the postseason. Maybe you can get by without him this week against Tennessee, but you're going to need him down the stretch. Here's what I'm talking about as far as the year that C.J. Stroud has had. He's, without a doubt, going to be the offensive rookie of the year with the numbers he's put up. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completion percentage just above 62%, over 3,600 yards passing. He's been a lot of fun so far this year. Now, you look at what's ahead for this Texans team. You play the Titans this week, and then you play the Browns, who are competing for a playoff spot. The Titans again, which is going to be tough to face the same team twice in 3 weeks, and they still have Derrick Henry and company. And then you face the Colts after that, who are still in playoff contention in their own right. Looking at the playoff picture in the AFC right now, I got to tell you, folks, this is a dogfight right now, with the Ravens in good shape to get that 1 seed. From there, the Dolphins, Chiefs, and Jags lead their divisions. The Browns are right there, though, in a wild card spot. The Steelers and the Colts have tiebreakers right now. But look at the 7-6 mark. 4 teams all competing for spots. Houston, Denver, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. It is very close right now. So, with that in mind, the AFC South is still possible for this Houston Texans team. Who's going to win the AFC South? Weigh in. Give me a name. Will it be the Jags? Will it be Houston? Or will it be Indianapolis? Chime in the comment section. Let me know who you think it is. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of NFL Daily. Subscribe now for free, and we'll see you next time here on the program. All right. We have a mailbag coming up in just a bit. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag segment we will be bringing you. We'll answer your questions from all across the NFL. Whatever you guys got, send them my way, and we'll react to it here in just a bit. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on. Checking to see who's got questions in already. Let's see here. I don't know if I've seen any questions actually come in yet. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat and get those questions in. Once we get enough questions, then we can get this mailbag started. So feel free to send that in. Aaron asks, any news on Zach Ertz? Hasn't signed anywhere yet. Still waiting to see where Zach Ertz goes. I know the Eagles have been talked about, the Niners. Those seem like possibilities. So we'll see. If we get any updates on him, we will let you know. Clayton says Suh is washed. Let's see. Ed and Lore both say they should pass on. The Browns should pass on Suh. Jared says sign. Ed and Lore say the Jags are going to win the AFC South. Get your questions in. Hashtag NFL. Super Chats get priority. We'll answer those first. The $sign to the right of the chat box if you'd like to Super Chat. As Ed just got his question in. Ed, you're going to be on the mailbag with that question. And a very good question there in regards to Marvin Harrison Jr. So appreciate that, Ed. Be like Ed and get your questions in that mailbag segment coming up in just a moment. Smitty rejoins me right now. Smitty, AFC South, pretty interesting what's going on in that division.
Yeah.
The Jags were the heavy favorites going into the season, but the Colts and Texans are right there.
Yeah, I mean, Stroud's got to play. Levis has to play well. And the Jags don't have to fumble. Like that's the thing. Like, there's no reason for Jacksonville to lose this division. There's no reason. They're the best quarterback by a mile. They have the best weapons by a mile. They don't have the best defense, I would say, but it's serviceable enough. That offense is good enough to get them through football games. But they're for some reason they're having troubles with their own division.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
They've lost to the Colts. They've lost to the Texans.
Well, and you think about it, they'll play the Ravens on Sunday night, probably lose that game.
Yep.
And then it's wide open from there.
Yep, exactly. They'll have the same amount of losses as the rest of the teams in that division. Plus, I don't know what their situation is on a lot of tiebreakers, but I don't think it's great.
Right.
So, need a couple more questions. Use hashtag NFL to get on the show. Name, avatar, question, all gets on. We answer it, and you're on the show forever.
Like, John, I saw that you had a good question in there, but you didn't use hashtag NFL. Our software requires that hashtag or Super Chat to be able to put you on screen to answer your question. John, it's a good question, but I got to have access to put it up there. So, Jared, Ed, Lore, get those questions in. Then we can get this mailbag started in just a bit. So, send them our way, and we'll react to those questions in just a bit. So, whatever you guys got, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah. We'll wait here just a bit. Let's see. What else we got here? Clayton, you got I see Clayton's been going back and forth with Juan Hernandez. Keep it fun, guys. Keep it fun. Keep it all good here. Who else? Keep sending in. I need some more questions, guys. We can't go any further in the show until I get some more questions for the mailbag here. Who else has got them? Please send them our way. And I'll tell you this much. If you send in a question today, you are getting on the mailbag. That's just how it's going to be. You are. There is a 100% guarantee you will be on this show if you send in that question. So whatever you got, get them our way, and we'll get those going here in just a bit. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get those questions for the mailbag rolling in. It is Thursday afternoon. Thursday Night Football coming up tonight. I see Ed's got a couple more questions. Ed, you're definitely going to be taken care of. We'll definitely get you in that mailbag. Ed, we appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, Ed, I need hashtag NFL on that second question. Ty Man the Buckeye, get me a question for that mailbag. Ty Man the Buckeye, I want to hear from you. I will put you on today's show if you send me a question right now, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. We'll take care of you. I want to hear from Ty Man the Buckeye. Ty Man the Buckeye, very avid Browns Report viewer. And I do see him chirping sometimes on Ravens Rundown from time to time, too. So Ty Man, the Buckeye, feel free. You can chirp at me all you want today, man. I will give you that platform. Ed, need hashtag NFL to get that question out. There we go. There we go, Ed. Okay. Okay. Need a couple more. All right. Ty Man says he's going to send in a question here. Lore got a question. Thanks, Lore, for that. Couple more, and then we'll get started. Coming up later in the show, we will give our playoff predictions and tell you how the rest of the regular season is ultimately going to play out here. Smitty, I'll be honest, this year has gone a lot different than I expected in several ways. Like, I didn't think the Chiefs' receiving corps was going to be this bad. I didn't think that the Colts would be a playoff contender. I did not expect in the NFC for that wild card race to be so wide open like it is. I mean, the AFC for that matter, too. I mean, this has been a very unpredictable year. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in a Super Bowl pick at the moment right now. It seems like that there's more parity than there's been in a while.
I agree. I don't know if that's good for the NFL or not. I don't know if that's good with like all these teams being mid, all these backup quarterbacks going to make the playoffs. I mean, who knows?
All right. Jared's got a question. Clayton, Benjamin, there we go. Now they're rolling in. They all came at once, basically. Now we got enough questions. We can do this mailbag. So, guys, thanks for sending those in. Let's get started. Mailbag time here on NFL Daily. And let's see what you guys got. Let's get this rolling here with segment number 2 of 3 on the day. There we go. Ty Man, the Buckeye, got his question in. Thanks for that. Clayton, Jared, Benjamin, Laura, and more. So here we go. Here we go. Segment 2, and then after that, we will conclude with playoff predictions. Let's go ahead and get started now here on NFL Daily. NFL fans want to make sure that you are the first to know on everything that's happening across the National Football League, and join the Noti Gang. The Noti Gang is those that have their notifications turned on. That way, they are the first to know when we have new content here on the channel, whether it's our daily news and rumors, our live shows, our Red Zone channel. When you turn on that notification bell, you are alerted right away when we have new content here on the channel. So don't just subscribe. Join the Noti Gang. Turn on your notifications so you never miss a moment of NFL Daily by Chat Sports, and we'll get started with this mailbag edition of the show. NFL Fan 69, nice, writes in, can Lamar Jackson win the MVP? Great question, NFL Fan 69. Here's the thing with Lamar and what we've seen so far from him in 2023. Lamar has played very well this year. But the statistics don't show him as a top MVP candidate. His stats aren't up there with the likes of Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Tyreek Hill and company. He's having a good year, a good bounce-back year. I love what he's done in this Todd Monken offense. I love that the Ravens have actually invested in Lamar Jackson, put weapons around him like Zay Flowers and OBJ. We've seen Isaiah Likely come along, even with the Mark Andrews injury and all that. The run game's been solid, even with J.K. Dobbins going down. All of that is good for Lamar, but it's not quite good enough to win MVP. Now, we still have a few games left. Things could change. He could go off over the next few weeks, but I don't think Lamar is going to be the MVP. If I were to guess right now, what the MVP race is going to shake out, I think that you see Tyreek Hill get over 2,000 yards, and he walks away with the MVP. That is my prediction of how this plays out. Would love to see Lamar win it a second time, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Who should win the NFL MVP award? I want to know. Let us know in that comment section who you think ultimately should walk away with the prize. Give us a name that comes to mind that will win the MVP. Ric Flair Drip writes in, what does Odell Beckham's future look like after this year? So OBJ said a while back that this year was about proving himself that he could come back after that torn ACL, and then after 1 year, that was going to be good enough for him and that he would retire after this year. He's only on a 1-year contract with the Baltimore Ravens. But if you've been watching the way that OBJ has played over the last few weeks, he's just now starting to get into his own and look like the OBJ of old of sorts. It reminds me so much of the OBJ that we saw in the Rams Super Bowl run a couple of years ago, where he really just took off in the second half of that season and was a huge asset for Matthew Stafford. Now the same can be said in this Baltimore Ravens situation, where maybe he's not the number one option. Zay Flowers is. But he is a very good number two. He's had a nice impact. He's filled the void left by Mark Andrews to an extent. I would be surprised to see OBJ just simply walk away from that. I think the Ravens would love to have him back. Granted, they got some pieces to pay. It's not going to be cheap with the money they've already given to Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson. But I'm sure the Ravens would love to have him back. There would be other teams I think would be interested in OBJ. I would be surprised if he retires. I think his best bet is that he's back in Baltimore next year. Will OBJ return to the Ravens next season? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. Let us know in that comment section what you think happens with OBJ, if he's back in Baltimore next year or not. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed when you're talking tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. I got to tell you, I love Game Time. I've used Game Time a lot myself. Got to go see my Kansas Jayhawks play against Texas Tech in a little college football a while back. Got to go to a comedy show, saw my guy John Chris perform in Tulsa a while back as well, and got to save money with Game Time. You can save with Game Time as well. Here's how it works. It's real simple. Pick the event you want to go to, and then you get the seat. You get to see if you like that seat or not, get to zoom in, get that view and all that. And then within a matter of moments, you're checking out. Let's say you decide the very last minute, I don't want to deal with those scalpers. I want to do a safe and secure ticket option. That's what Game Time delivers. And you can get your tickets instantaneously, within moments. It's very easy to use. And we're offering our viewers of today's show $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat. Simple as that. $20 off. Promo code NFL Chat. Start saving today. Game Time, proud partner of Chat Sports and NFL Daily. Get $20 off with the promo code NFL Chat. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Game Time. Terms and conditions do apply. Another question coming in. Will a backup QB win the Super Bowl this year? With so many backup quarterbacks starting right now, there's as good a chance as there's been in quite some time. But I'll still say no. It's very rare. I'm thinking historically, backup quarterbacks have won Super Bowls. Nick Foles, Jeff Hostetler, those were a couple guys that won Super Bowls. Trent Dilfer may as well have been a backup quarterback. No offense. But it's very rare when backup quarterbacks win Super Bowls. So then you translate and you start to think about this year of teams that are quality teams that have backup quarterbacks. The Bengals look really good with Jake Browning, but I don't think the Bengals are going to be winning the Super Bowl necessarily. That's a team that comes to mind. The Vikings, I know that they've been kind of a mess with Dobbs and a couple other options. They're not a Super Bowl threat, I don't think. I know that I'm probably missing a couple there, but I would be surprised. Ty Man the Buckeye chimes in, and his team, the Browns, they're going with a backup quarterback, Joe Flacco. We love Joe Flacco, even if he is playing for the Browns. What needs to happen for the Browns to be in the Super Bowl? We would need to see Joe Flacco continue to play on the level we saw last week. We need elite quarterback Joe Flacco to show up for this Cleveland Browns team for that to happen. Their defense is phenomenal. We know they have some offensive weapons like Amari Cooper and company. They're capable of playing at a high level. But basically, Joe Flacco would have to carry that team. And I don't know if old man Flacco at this point in his career, I highly doubt that he's going to be able to go in there and beat teams like Kansas City and Baltimore and Miami and others down the stretch here at this point. But it's not impossible. But think about this. The Browns, they're not going to be winning the division. It would be a long road ahead. I would say the chances are slim as far as the Browns go of winning the Super Bowl. Jared writes in, if Tampa doesn't win the division, do they move on from Bowles in Mayfield? So the other day, I was actually having a discussion with my buddy TJ Reeves. He's the sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers radio network. And I was asking about Baker and this situation and all this. And from what he told me was that Todd Bowles is a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. That it was Todd Bowles specifically that wanted to bring Baker Mayfield to Tampa Bay. And we've seen Baker play at a very good level this year. 20 touchdowns, 8 picks. The offense has been very good, although at times inconsistent. The offensive line has some question marks there in Tampa. But here's the deal. If we're going to be frank with y'all, that division is so bad. If you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you don't win that division, then I think there's going to be some hell to pay. Todd Bowles, probably gone. Baker Mayfield, I think there is a slim situation, if you will, where Todd Bowles is gone, but Baker Mayfield is still there, potentially. Now, with all the quarterbacks that are available in this year's draft, maybe you have a situation where Baker is the starter, but they draft his replacement, something like that. But I would say the most likely outcome is what you mentioned, Jared, where if they miss the division title, then they just go ahead and clean everything up and move on from there. But Baker, he's played well enough. He's going to be a starter somewhere for somebody. He'll get a contract. Might not be in Tampa Bay if they don't win the division, though. Ed Robbins writes in, what do you think of the Bears taking Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first pick, and then Jalen Daniels with the 6th pick, the quarterback from LSU? You know, that could be an interesting idea. I'll say this. If the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, it's hard to imagine them not taking Caleb Williams, or anybody that has the number 1 pick for that matter, not taking Caleb Williams, because it's going to be too hard to just pass up if he's right there, a guy that is of his talent level, because at the end of the day, the number 1 need is quarterback in this league. And Caleb Williams, I know that there's some questions about his antics and how he handled losing and all that, but he's the best prospect we've seen at the position in a very, very long time. And so I think it'd be hard to say no to Caleb Williams if he's there at 1. Cameron writes in, do you think a 9-8 will be good enough to make the playoffs in the NFC, but not in the AFC? So I'm glad you asked. As far as the NFC goes, I think the NFC South champ probably has a losing record. So in the NFC, yes. The AFC, much more competitive. I think you have to have at least 10 wins. You might have one team squeak in on the back end for that final spot, the 7 seed with 9. But it's going to be very competitive. It's going to be very tight for those final spots, as you can see. Look in the AFC playoff picture right now. It would go into a lot of different tiebreakers and such, but the only way you can guarantee to get in is with those 10 wins as far as that goes, but we'll see how that goes. What team will finish with the best record in the NFL this season? Could it be Baltimore? Could it be San Francisco? Dallas? Philly? Who's it going to be? Get in that comment section and let us know who you think the team with the best record will be in 2023. All right, one more segment to go. It is our playoff predictions segment. But first, we want to hear from you guys. Who should win the NFL MVP? Smitty, we told the folks earlier, you and I are both high on Tyreek Hill being the NFL MVP.
Yes.
If it's not Tyreek Hill, I could very well see, because the NFL's never given the wide receiver the MVP award, I think that Dak is still the favorite just based on precedent, and Tyreek, I think, still has to get to 2,000 first.
Yeah, I agree. But don't count out, unfortunately, as I say it, Brock Purdy could be the NFL MVP this year. He's more passing yards than Mahomes, than Allen. He's got the highest completion percentage. He's got the best record.
You know, here's the other thing, too. Like, there's the whole debate about the definition, most valuable player, right? I would argue And I like Brock Purdy. I'm a Brock Purdy fan. I've been a fan of his since he was at Iowa State. He's not even the most valuable player in his own team. Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey are both more valuable.
You say that, but, I mean, would they be in the same position with Trey Lance or Sam Darnold that they are in with Brock Purdy? I don't know if they are.
But look at their 3-game losing streak. When they were without Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey, they told Brock Purdy, this is your team now.
That's
it's up
true.
to you to win these games. And he looked bad. He did not play good in those 3 games
That's
that
true.
he was told to lead that team.
They asked him to do a lot in those games, and he didn't really rise up to the occasion in those instances. So I guess you're right on that front. I'm still going with Tyreek though.
Yeah.
I think even if he gets 1999, like that's still close enough, man, to where like it's such a dominant receiver season that we haven't seen before. Think about where the Dolphins would be without Tyreek Hill.
Oh man.
So he's clearly the most valuable player on any offense in the NFL.
Yes. Let's see. Brock Purdy says lore. Ed says Max Crosby. Don't think Max Crosby's getting it. Raiders been a bit of a mess. Paul says Mad Max. Was not expecting to see Max Crosby votes in today's show, but you guys came in with a lot of Raider fans today, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. Playoff prediction time. Let's tell you about the next 4 weeks ahead and who will be in the postseason. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. The NFL playoffs are just around the corner. The run to the postseason is on. And on today's show, I am going to lay out my predictions for how the next few weeks of the season will ultimately play out. Who's in, who's out, we'll explain in just a bit. When it's all said and done, though, who is going to raise the Lombardi Trophy and be the Super Bowl champions of this season? Let us know. It's as wide open of a year as we've seen in quite some time. Weigh in that comment section. Tell me what you think. Let's begin with the AFC playoff picture. The Ravens currently leading the way with the number 1 overall seed, a 10-3 record. They have a big game this weekend against the Jags. The Dolphins at 9-4, leading their division, and you have the Chiefs at 8-5, the Jags at 8-5, and then the wild card race right now. Browns hold the 5th spot at 8-5, but then the Steelers and Colts hold the final 2 spots at 7-6. But a lot of tiebreakers there, as Houston, Denver, Cincy, and Buffalo are all 7-6. It is going to come down to the very end to see who gets those spots. Meanwhile, in the NFC, the Niners are the first team in the NFL to lock up a spot in the postseason. They are at 10-3, but it is coming down to the wire for how things will shake out of who gets home field advantage in the NFC. The Cowboys currently leading their division over the Eagles with the tiebreaker, both of them the same record at 10-3. They are the 2 seed. Lions at 9-4, they're the 3, and the Bucs with a losing record, still leading the NFC South at 6-7. The wild card race, we mentioned Philly at 10-3, they're at the 5 spot, and then it gets ultra competitive from there. The Vikings at the 6th spot at 7-6. Packers have the tiebreaker for the final playoff spot, same record as the Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, and New Orleans at this point. So let's go division by division here. I think the Dolphins finish at 11-6. And I'll tell you what, the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill's been fantastic this year. I think Tua's proven the doubters wrong. But the big thing that they have left to answer the rest of the way is, can they beat teams that are better than them? That is something that they've struggled with for much of the season. Also, Buffalo. This has not been their year. A lot of pressure on Sean McDermott this season. I'll show you in a bit, but I got to tell you, it doesn't look very good for Buffalo's playoff chances at 9-8. The AFC West. This has not been the best season for the Kansas City Chiefs. But even with that said, it's still Andy Reid. It's still Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I think they finish out 12-5. They have a lot of things to work through. They got some big question marks in their receiving core, but they're still without question the best team in their division. The Broncos are improved. They've been much better in the second half of 2023. Russell Wilson's playing better. Sean Payton's got that team to rally behind them. I think they'd be very pleased to have 10 wins and find themselves in the postseason. The AFC North, the Ravens are, without a doubt, on their way. They're in great shape. They've been playing terrific football. 13 wins seems certainly reasonable for the Ravens when it comes to the AFC North. But the other three teams, all fighting for wild card spots, the Steelers, Browns, and Bengals. The Steelers' offense has been terrible this year. The Browns, they're going to go forward with Joe Flacco as their guy after a good game he had last week. The Bengals going with Jake Browning. He's looked solid. A lot of tiebreakers to kind of figure out that situation there. The AFC South, this is closer than I think any of us expected this year. The Texans were supposed to be rebuilding. The Colts were supposed to be rebuilding. Titans kind of are who we thought they were, to quote the great Denny Green. But the Jags, I think, still find a way to finish 11-6. Texans going to be interesting to follow when it comes to this C.J. Stroud situation, how healthy he is or not, and if he can come back from that concussion and everything. And the Indianapolis Colts with Gardner Minshew getting the job done at 9-8, it actually might set this franchise back a little bit in their rebuild plan for not getting the draft picks they expected. But you got to give Shane Steichen a lot of credit for an incredible job they've done in Indy. Who will get home field advantage in the AFC? You may have noticed I have the Ravens doing so. What do you guys think? Who is going to get home field in the AFC? Weigh in that comment section. Let us know who you think. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for last-minute tickets for the lowest prices guaranteed. The best seats, and I got to tell you, it's very easy to use. Here's how it works. You choose the event you want to go to. Maybe it's a sporting event, a concert, comedy show, theater production, whatever it is. And then from there, you choose the seat that you want to sit in. And with Game Time, you get to see what the seat looks like. That way, you get an idea of what you're paying for. And then within a matter of moments, you're checking out, and you're getting your tickets, bam, just like that in no time. You're not having to worry about those sketchy scalpers and all that. And what we're offering our viewers here on NFL Daily is $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat. So, here's what I need you to do. Go ahead and download Game Time today. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Use that promo code NFL Chat. Save $20 now, and you will not be disappointed with Game Time. You're going to love it. Your family's going to thank you for it when you get them tickets to the next event you go to. Check out Game Time today, proud partner of NFL Daily. Now to the NFC. Man, this is going to be something. The Eagles and Cowboys are both fantastic this year, and they split the season series. And with that, I think that they share the division at 14-3 with the tiebreaker going to Philly. Don't ask me how that works, but somehow the tiebreakers it does. The Giants, I know it's been fun with Tommy DeVito and all that, but reality sinks in. They're going to be a 6-11 team. Commanders, credit to Eric Bieniemy for doing good work with that offense, and Sam Howell taking a step in the right direction, but 5-12 seems to be what they'll likely finish at. The NFC West, the Niners in great shape at 14-3. The Rams and Seahawks both at 9-8. And I feel like I'm being a little generous with Seattle finishing 9-8 because you look at their final stretch. You play the Eagles, you play the Steelers, Titans, and Cardinals. You would hope to get out of there with 3 wins, but you might slip up in one of those others. Even the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, still possible. They could potentially upset Seattle there, so something to watch on that front. Rams beat the Seahawks twice, so they got the tiebreaker there as far as that goes. The NFC North, yes, you heard it first. The NFC North champion Detroit Lions at 12-5. What a job Dan Campbell's done. Jared Goff has looked really good. They got some good young talent there. A home playoff game in Detroit appears to be ahead for this team. The Packers have had a nice second half of this season. Jordan Love looks good. Vikings, they went through the honeymoon phase with Joshua Dobbs, but I think that's kind of fallen off. The Bears, Justin Fields has been tough for teams to game plan for, but they're still not playing to their full potential as a team as a whole. Eberflus, I think, is going to be out when it's all said and done. The NFC South, this is a nasty, ugly division, but somebody's got to win it. And my money's on Baker Mayfield and the Bucs to get the job done. They were my pick before the season began. I said the Bucs would win the NFC South. I think it's a losing record. It isn't the sexiest pick by any means, but I like what Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield, that combo, have together, what they got going. Mike Evans is still there. I know Chris Godwin's headed down here, but they got some talent. Falcons, this hasn't been the year they expected. They're not using Bijan Robinson the way they should. The Saints at 7-10, what a disaster. The Derek Carr experiment has not worked for that team. I think the Bucs walk away with the South. Who gets home field advantage in the NFC? It's going to be interesting, right? I just told you I got 3 teams at 14-3. Who gets the tiebreaker? Who is going to be the NFC home field advantage team, the number 1 seed? Let us know in that comment section. So, based on the tiebreakers and how things generate and all that, I have the Ravens and the Niners getting the 1 seeds in their respective conferences. I got the Ravens at 13-4, the Niners at 14-3, getting those first-round buys where they will await the lowest remaining seed in the divisional round. Now let's go over the wild card matchups. I have the Kansas City Chiefs hosting a wild card playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you recall, these two teams met in a wild card game just a couple of years ago. It was Big Ben's last game, and I got to tell you, this would be a very interesting matchup because can the Chiefs' offense do what they're supposed to do? If not, are the Steelers going to be able to hang around? Watch out. The Dolphins and the Broncos. That would be a potentially fun game. A rematch from several weeks ago when the Dolphins put 70 points on the Broncos. You don't think the Broncos would be hungry in that game? They're a much better team than they were when they played previously. And then I have the Jags taking on the Texans. A little AFC South showdown between these two teams. I think C.J. Stroud is going to come back, and the Texans should have a nice finish to the year. The Jags with a home playoff game, Trevor Lawrence and company, I think that could be very fun between those two teams. The NFC side of things, the Eagles get the 2 seed, and they have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys. They ultimately win the division. They take on the L.A. Rams, who sneak in the final playoff spot in the NFC. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, still the explosive offense, going up against this Philly team that hasn't necessarily played their best football as of late. The Detroit Lions at 12-5. They get the Green Bay Packers again. And you may recall on Thanksgiving when the Packers were big underdogs, went into Detroit, beat the Lions on Thanksgiving, as they tend to do, lose on Thanksgiving. Could you imagine if the Packers spoil Detroit's home playoff game they've long awaited for after all these years? And it could happen. And then we get the Bucs and the Cowboys. We got this game last year, the wild card round. Dak, MVP candidate. Baker Mayfield, a home playoff game. We'll see. So those are my predictions for how ultimately this will all shake out. What do you think? How did I do with my playoff predictions? Grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you love it or hate it? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right. So, who will win the Super Bowl? As I see the grades coming in, Ty Man the Buckeye gives me a D. Come on, Ty Man. Ed says B. Rodney says C. Paul says A-, as Smitty rejoins me right now. Smitty, who is your early favorite right now? I say early. Who is your favorite going into the postseason to walk away with that Super Bowl right now?
If the San Francisco 49ers do not win the Super Bowl, they never will. There is no reason that team should not win the Super Bowl. They look like the clear alpha out of all the other mid that's going on in the NFL right now. Yeah. Outside of that 3-game losing streak, that 3-game skid, they've looked dominant.
Yeah.
In all facets in the beginning of the season and to now. They look dominant. They look like they can beat anybody in the NFL on any given day. And they don't look as beatable as some other teams like the Ravens, the Chiefs, and even the Cowboys and the Eagles.
That whole if now win argument, I could say the same thing about the Dallas Cowboys too.
Yeah, but
they look like a complete team.
Yeah, but they haven't been there. San Fran, they've been to multiple NFC championships, a Super Bowl, the same coaching staff, the same front office, and for a large part, the same real meat and potatoes worth of players.
Sure.
Adding Christian McCaffrey last year kind of took them over the top, and that's why I think if they don't win a Super Bowl now, when are they going to? Is it going to be next year? Is it going to be the year after that? Like, there's a legitimate chance that they could be the best team in the NFL for the next 3 years and not win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they have to this year. I think that they're no doubt the favorite, and they just play the best football week in and week out of any team that I watch.
Jared says the Niners. Ty Man the Buckeye says Cleveland. And Ed Robbins says the Browns will be golfing. They will miss out due to tiebreakers. We will sign off. Guys, thanks for joining us here on this Thursday edition of NFL Daily. We'll be back and do it again next week. Red Zone Channel coming up on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. Also tonight, Raiders Report live for Raiders and Chargers. So you'll enjoy that. Check out our Raiders channel. They'll certainly appreciate it. I'll be live on Ravens Rundown Sunday night for Ravens and Jags. And then Monday night for Seahawks taking on the Eagles. Smitty's going to join me for both those games as well. We'll see you then. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for joining us, everybody.